Mysterious new explosions rocked the Iranian interior today at a highly sensitive time regarding what might unfold against Iran in the coming period. These powerful explosions took place in the immediate vicinity of major and highly significant urban centers across Iran, such as the city of Arak, which is known to house critical nuclear facilities and industrial complexes, as well as Shiraz, where several important missile bases are located that pose a direct threat to Israel, Iraq, the Arab Gulf states, and the vital Strait of Hormuz. If you truly wish to maintain full control over the Strait of Hormuz, you must control the strategic positioning of all the missile bases located in Shiraz. Numerous Israeli, Arab, and international sources had documented these explosions. Iran International, for example, documented the explosion that occurred in Shiraz in this manner. As we can see, the smoke is white. This could indicate the targeting of a specific facility or even ammunition or missile fuel. However, the Iranian side has not commented on the cause of this explosion or what was targeted, if there was indeed a target at all, or whether it was an accident. Interestingly, after that explosion, another occurred in Arak targeting a specific house. The Iranian circles shared images of the damage but Iran provided no details on casualties from the strike. Naturally, this raises many doubts and questions because such attacks, which are considered surgical strikes against specific homes, invariably lead to fingers of accusation being pointed at Israel. The truly intriguing aspect of the situation is that the series of explosions we are currently analyzing today seem to follow a significant security breach that was apparently aimed at targeting a highly strategic location situated within the western or southwestern regions of Iran, specifically the city of Dezful, as we can clearly observe here on the map, where local defense systems were fully operational and active. It appears that aircraft are attempting to breach or have already breached Iranian airspace, specifically over Dezful. As we can see here, air defenses are attempting to counter this breach, which remains ambiguous with no explanations provided by the Iranian regime, nor is it clear. Even according to specialized sources monitoring such developments, this suggests that yesterday evening we may have been dealing with drones, or possibly, though less likely, warplanes. The drones may have been used to probe the nature of the defense systems in this area, as it is a critical area to breach for a direct advance towards. Isfahan, as we can see here, is where 60% enriched uranium is located, which is a highly significant matter. Consequently, Dezful is considered to be on the same line as Isfahan. Notice that after Dezful, there was an explosion in Arak, and there was also an explosion in Shiraz, which we are discussing. All these points surround Isfahan from the north, west, south, and also the west, as we can see. When we talk about Isfahan and 60% enriched uranium, it is a very significant story today, as US President Donald Trump has rejected the response from the Iranian side to the American proposal aimed at reaching an agreement on the nuclear issue and other matters, specifically the 60% enriched uranium. The Wall Street Journal had revealed the nature and details of the Iranian response, stating that Iran agreed to freeze uranium enrichment, but not for 20 years as the United States wants. That is a very long way to go. Furthermore, Iran has agreed to transfer a portion of its 60% enriched uranium to a third country, while the rest will be diluted and reduced in concentration by mixing it with lower enriched uranium, thereby rendering it insignificant. Naturally, Iran has rejected several matters. For example, it has refused to dismantle its nuclear facilities and all other offers presented by the United States. It wants the sanctions lifted. It wants to open the Strait of Hormuz. It wants the blockade to gradually end. Freeze Iranian funds and restrictions to be lifted. Naturally, if the current negotiations fail to reach a resolution, the uranium that was transferred to that third country must be returned to the Islamic Republic of Iran. US President Donald Trump was not pleased with this, which quickly led to an urgent call between US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who was visiting the Dead Sea and had to rush back to Jerusalem to take the call. And subsequently, we were confronted with a series of explosions that we are currently discussing, along with the security breach that took place late yesterday evening in the city of Dezful. Yeah, the options for U.S. President Donald Trump here are very clear. Continue this naval blockade to exert greater economic pressure on Iran. It is also possible to combine this naval blockade with specific targeted military operations against the Iranian naval forces and the Revolutionary Guard in the Strait of Hormuz in order to weaken Iran's control on the Strait of Hormuz and keeping the conflict confined to this region so it does not expand to the rest of the Middle East. Consequently, the more Iran weakens here, the more it loses the ability to control the strait. Consequently, if the United States actually manages to control this strait, the Iranian side will lose many of its bargaining chips with the United States. It seems that things are starting to turn against the Iranian side, as despite European countries like Britain, for example, firmly against American military operations and decisions regarding Iran. Ultimately, however, official word finally arrived directly from the command of the British Royal Navy. It has been reported that a destroyer has now been sent towards the Strait of Hormuz, the HMS Dragon, which we see here. It originally appeared last April and is currently stationed and focused south of Cyprus, as we can see at the British base. As for this destroyer, it will move rapidly from this region through the Red Sea to reach the Strait of Hormuz to conduct operations to open the strait and secure international shipping as it affects the entire world. Naturally, the most significant countries affected by the Khan tendency, the strait, Hormuz, are the European nations. The Iranian side is fully aware of the gravity of this danger, which is precisely why they issued a stern warning to the HMS Dragon, stating clearly that the Iranian Navy would target this destroyer if it actually attempted to approach the Strait of Hormuz and tried, for instance, to force it open once again. Satellite imagery captured just yesterday also reveals the French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle is currently positioned in the Red Sea. It is estimated to be roughly 3 to 4 days away from reaching the Strait of Hormuz once again. Furthermore, an Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine appeared today, now crossing the Strait of Gibraltar. It seems to be setting a course for the theater of operations, specifically toward the Strait of Hormuz. Consequently, you can see all the pieces are shifting into position quite rapidly. You have a secret nuclear submarine that crossed the Strait of Gibraltar, as well as the British destroyer and the French aircraft carrier. We have 2 American aircraft carriers located here in this region heading towards the strait, as well as the USS Tripoli and the USS loaded with thousands of US Marines, along with many other destroyers, all deployed in this region. And so the whole thing is anticipated to spread out in this way all at the same time. And so suddenly the Strait of Hormuz has become under fire and under threat in the event that Iran does not engage. And the other part of the operations that will ultimately follow may be the escorting of ships and the escorting of ships passing through the strait. I think, for example, the forces and destroyers attempting to escort cargo ships and oil tankers are subjected to any strikes, the United States and perhaps even Britain will carry out strikes against Iranian offensive capabilities in order to protect navigation. General, functioning as a strictly practical civil operation, it maintains absolutely no connection to any military operations. Instead, it is, in its final analysis, fundamentally a defensive operation. USS Tripoli, we are discussing US Central Command showcased a flight of F-35 stealth jets, signaling that these maneuvers could potentially involve penetrating Iranian airspace to gather intelligence or prepare for zero-hour. Photos were also released of U.S. Marine Corps maneuvers aboard the USS Tripoli, showing them preparing, as is evident from the drills, for landings that may not only be directed at Iranian ships and oil tankers attempting to cross and break the U.S. naval blockade. For landings on the Iranian coast and more likely the Iranian islands located in the strait. Additionally, over the past 48 hours, U.S. Central Command released an image of an F-16 aircraft flying in a specific area. We noticed that this area is quite interesting. It shows that the United States is in constant flight towards Tehran. By using these ground markers, we can simply switch to satellite view and find that this area is located southeast of Damascus, near the border of the Hakkamite Kingdom of Jordan and inside Syrian territory. And this area if we turn 180 degrees, we see the exact same image and the same markers visible before us here, as we can observe from the ground and from what was visible behind this aircraft. Therefore, the warplane was indeed present, as is clear from this angle. If this gives you any indication, it means there is continuous American overflight of Syrian airspace. Syrian airspace is considered a critical vantage point for attacks on the Iranian interior. As we discussed, this overflight operation is extremely dangerous for Tehran, and of course, for in central Iran. Additional video footage has also been captured and officially documented throughout the course of the last 48 hours, clearly showing United States military warplanes conducting various flights over the regions of Abu Kamal as well as over the area of Sinjar. Yeah, and here in Abu Kamal, for example, you can see images and footage of a certain warplane in flight. It could be American or it could be Israeli, of course, but it is most likely American, an F-35 stealth fighter, as we have clearly captured in this specific image right here for you. Okay? Why do I suspect it is American? Well, it was flying at an altitude low enough for it to be clearly observed by us. You see, Israel typically does not operate a single aircraft on its own in this particular region, so this strongly suggests that the aircraft must belong to the NATO. A flight was observed over the Sinjar region involving a tanker and 2 F-15s. This effectively paves the way for a potential military strike on Tehran. Furthermore, reports indicate that some drones managed to breach this full airspace during yesterday's interception operation. According to local reports, air defense systems in northwest Iran have been activated, which is likely a direct response to a potential aerial threat. At the same time, U.S. strategic bombers from the Fairford base in Britain are also actively maneuvering in the region. MB Lancer aircraft was observed flying toward the specific area that we have marked in red. This is a military danger zone. Strategic bombers typically conduct bombing runs in this area in preparation for potential operations against Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. This region mirrors the Strait of Hormuz in flight patterns, maneuvers, and altitudes. The U.S. Air Force is also undergoing a significant learning process adapting to the nature of this conflict. Consequently, future strikes could be more powerful, reaching deep into Iranian territory. There was also a Dragon Lady aircraft, one of the American reconnaissance planes that has not been used against Iran until now, which has appeared maneuvering from Britain toward this region. It appears to be preparing to gather intelligence on the Iranian interior in the coming period, which will significantly bolster intelligence gathering efforts against Iran should the United States decide to act. When you are currently operating this aircraft, tomorrow, of course, is a very important day. We will see Britain and France hosting defense ministers from over 40 countries around the world preparing to launch a practical defensive operation for freedom of navigation, specifically in the Strait of Hormuz, with Britain deploying a destroyer and France sending aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. And let us not forget the Freedom Project initiated by US President Donald Trump in the Strait of Hormuz. Consequently, all of these are considered to be highly significant operations. Following that, on the coming Wednesday, U.S. President Donald Trump is scheduled to travel to China. As of today, this visit has been officially confirmed following a formal invitation from the Chinese government.